my friend. I'm Melissa V. Cartwright, and welcome to the Passionate Performer Podcast. You have a voice that deserves to be heard, and you also deserve to have a performance career where you don't feel like you're sacrificing who you are to meet the demands of the industry. I'm a Latin singer-songwriter, actress, and voice coach with 25 years of experience, and so I get it. I understand the grind, the joys, the ups and downs, and everything in between. We cannot keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. So we are here to help you problem solve those challenges, figure out why we're feeling the way we do, and give you the next right step. We are not here to mess around. We are ready to take action. Let's go. It is so good to be with you, my friend. Thank you for putting me in your ear holes or watching me on YouTube. I took a break last week because it was show week for my personal cabaret, Sugar and Sasson, which, oh my goodness, it was wonderful. Stick around for the end of this episode. I'm going to share some more behind the scenes with you. But I'm also thrilled to be welcoming our first guest of season 2, Gina Morgano. So Gina and I met as part of a business co-op for voice teachers, the Voicepreneurs with Allie Tyler. I'm going to link that information in the show notes because it is so good. Such a wonderful resource. Gina is the consummate performer. So she has over 15 years of professional performance experience in New York as well as in Pennsylvania. She has produced over 10 of her own personal concerts and or cabarets. She also is the host of the Voice Space podcast, encouraging singers just like you that your voice matters. And because your voice matters, we're going to share so much goodness with you today, because if you press play, you are someone who has been dreaming of the possibility to headline your own concert. What would that look like? Maybe your brain right now is racing with a million ideas, but you just don't know how to organize it all. And by the end of this episode, I promise you, you will know what your next step is. Like I said, we're going to dive into my convo with Gina. Stick around for the end on some behind the scenes and juicy details of what went down at my cabaret. And also just a quick disclaimer, if you are watching this on YouTube, my video card was going bananas during this recording, but the information is just too good not to share with you. All right, enough said. Let's dive in. We've got Gina Morgano, the one and only, in the house. Gina, thank you so much for coming on here for our Passionate Performer podcast. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me, Melissa.
Oh, you are our first guest of season 2. So I'm so happy that you said yes, right? That you get to kind of get us out of the gate here, right? So, you know, as performing singers, we may have been doing this for a while. And, you know, we are used to being a part of events and singing for events that somebody else is in charge of, right? Like somebody else is organizing. Could be the church play, the community theater musical, a pro show, an open mic, but somebody else is in charge. Or, you know, we're doing it with a group of people, which is oh so lovely. But what if we're dreaming up the possibility of not just doing our own show, but, you know, directing, producing it, you know, like being in charge, building something from the ground up? Is it possible to create your own cabaret, right? And so I find that some singers, and I'd love to hear more about this too with what you do, some of the biggest insecurities or reasons for why we think we can't is, well, number one, never done it before. And are we really truly capable? It just comes down to it. Do you find that there are some other mental hurdles that get in the way of why we wouldn't even give ourselves permission to ask the question in the first place?
Yes, absolutely. You know, when I was in college, I was a classical voice major and I did a lot of classical recitals. And even though doing a recital and doing a cabaret are so similar, even for me, I had the mental hurdles before I did my first one. And some of the things that I wondered how to do it. It felt overwhelming. I wondered if anybody would come. I wondered how I could afford it financially. I didn't know what material to do. I had so many questions and so many insecurities. And I find that a lot of people do, but it is totally possible.
I agree 100%. I think well, we've either seen someone else put it together and realized just how much work it takes. And so, this is what I love about what you do, because you yourself have created a program course that shows you actually you can. And so, I'm going to have you tell us a little bit about the course, and then maybe we're going to dive into some practical next steps about how we can get started on this. Yeah. So, tell us all about Create Your Cabaret.
So, Create Your Cabaret is a step by step group membership program that walks you through the process of creating your own show. And I call it Create Your Cabaret, but really it's a concert. It could be any kind of show that you want to do. And there is a formula, a process, a checklist, if you will, of steps that will get you from point A to point Z. It's a repeatable process that I do with all of my shows. And then also in the membership program, we have bonus trainings, we have group calls where you can ask individual questions and get one on one support. There is an app that we use so that you can ask questions at any time. You can share what's on your mind, what's on your heart. You can share your progress. So it's really about teaching you the process of putting on your own show and then holding your hand and guiding you every step of the way from, I think I might want to do a show, to, I just did my show this weekend and it went great. And here's what I learned.
And I have to insert myself as a living testimony of having done the course, having been a part of the membership, just coming off of a cabaret. Thanks to your beautiful help, I've personally been working with Gina, gosh, for almost a year. Oh my goodness, almost a year since in the creation of my cabaret, Sugar y Sazon. And so it was so breathtakingly refreshing. That's probably a redundant actually phrase, but I think there was so much of like, oh, okay, yeah. Because, not only have in my personal experience, and maybe if you're listening, this is your experience too, maybe you've actually been a part of the creation process, like I said, from a collaborative effort for somebody else or another organization, and you weren't necessarily the star or the one featured, right? So, as a voice coach for several years, I was used to putting together recitals, and all these things. Like you said, even for your experience in college, all of our experiences in college, right? Like with our senior recital or whatever. But this just takes on a whole ray of freedom, because you really are building, like, it's a blank canvas, right? And you're taking all of your ideas and all the things that you love and putting bones on it and flesh and like building the house, right? So Gina, if somebody's listening to this going like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I think that's me." Like, I've been so grateful to do other things and be a part of other people's projects. What would be the first step into, I'm ready to do my own thing with this?
The first thing is you simply have to decide that you're going to do it. And I think that oftentimes people will question if they're ready to do it, and
Mm,
they'll wait to feel like they're ready. They'll wait to feel like they have the money set aside to do it. They'll wait to feel like they have the concept. And I have found that all of those things will come once you decide you're going to do it. It's really easy to push it off and wait to feel like the moment is perfect, the timing is perfect, all of your
mm.
ducks are in a row. But that rarely happens. If you commit to doing it, you will figure out all of the details.
Woo! How do we get there, Gina? Right? It's like, how do we just decide to do the dang thing? Walk us through maybe your process, like when you decided to do your first one, because you've built this course based on a number of shows that you have self produced. So, How walk us through some of those first moments and first cabarets, concerts that gave you the boost of confidence, whether you felt the confidence beforehand or you were building it as you were doing it. What worked for you? What was your experience?
So I was living in New York when I did my first cabaret.
Oh,
And
that's like the
I
mother load.
It is. And I had wonderful experiences and wonderful opportunities, but I really was not performing as much as I wanted to be. I wasn't getting cast.
Mm.
I was feeling like I
Mhm.
was practicing in my room and in class, but I wanted to get out there. I wanted to share my work. And I got really tired of waiting. I got tired of waiting for permission, for other people to tell me that it was okay to do this. And finally, I had been watching all these cabarets in New York, and I thought, well, why can't I do that? I want to do that. And it was really scary at first, but I did think back to my voice recitals. And at one point, I had done a Christmas concert that was a benefit for my church. And I thought, okay, I know how to put on a show. Let me learn how to do a cabaret. And it was actually my voice teacher that told me, you just have to pick a date and book it, and then you'll get going. He said, if you don't put something on the calendar, you won't do it. So I was terrified, but I think the frustration of not using my voice was
Mm.
greater than my fear of doing a cabaret.
Ooh, Gina, there was like so many like amen moments in there. You should call this create your own dream, like create your own opportunity, right? Because I can really resonate with what you said. I was in the same place that really led me to do the Sugar and Cecil and Cabaret. Like I was done dilly undone with a lot of people saying, oh yeah, but then like ghosting me. And I was like, mm-mm. It's time. And so I can totally see how somebody listening would be like, yeah, I've had a lot of closed doors up lately, or I live in an area that seems as though there aren't as many performance opportunities. So you can absolutely pave your own path. And why not? Why not? I love that. Okay, you just gave us a really good first step. Pick a date and book it. So let's go down that thread a little bit. Let's say somebody's living in an area that's not New York, it's not like a main hub, where there's a really vibrant artistic scene. Pick a date and book it. Well, how much money is that? Can you walk us through some out of the box places where either you've seen your clients or you yourself have done a creative concert?
Yes. And actually, before I answer that question, I just want to share that one of the things we talk a lot about in Create Your Cabaret is how to think differently about what a cabaret is. We see these
Mm.
huge, amazing cabaret venues in New York, and we think that's what it has to be. But it doesn't. During the pandemic, I did concerts in my living room. I did one on my porch. Other venues, I've done concert in an art gallery. My Christmas show last year was in a local social hall. You could do one in a coffee shop. There are
Mhm.
so many places. And I really encourage people to think about alternative spaces and venues. It doesn't have to be your traditional performing arts space.
Ooh, that's so fun. I was even thinking too, like ask your local library if they have an event space. Sometimes they'll let you come in and do that. So if you heard that and you were like, oops, dollars right away, there's actually some really creative places, that you can do that. So you just gave us a few free options as well. So that's amazing. I shared in the previous episode of the podcast, I thought I was going to have to cancel a gig because of a foot of snow that we got here in coastal Virginia, which is so abnormal. But they were totally fine going back to, COVID times and doing a hybrid video version, and it came across just fine. So, yes, again, these are things that we're telling ourselves, that we're creating these roadblocks for us, but really, they're so, 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 so possible. So, get out of your head, book it. What's one more like in this first step process of somebody imagining? Let's talk about almost like the brainstorm process even, because somebody could be saying, "Yeah, I'd love to do my own thing, but I don't even know where to begin with like a concept or an idea." What are some of your strategies or even like things that you use to spark creativity when it comes to what would the show actually look like or be about?
I love that question. So it's really easy to go into overwhelm when it comes to choosing repertoire.
Mm,
And one of the things that I love to do, not even for my concerts, just as a singer, as an artist,
yeah.
I keep what I call a TBS list, a to be sung list.
Oh, love
So
it.
anytime I hear a song that I think I might want to sing, I add it to the list. If somebody recommends a song to me, I add it to the list. And so that can be a great source when you're thinking about your show concept. What are the songs I've always wanted to sing?
Mm,
Sometimes they don't fit the mold for an audition or our typical performing experiences. So creating your own show is an awesome opportunity to get to do this repertoire that you don't usually get to sing. The other thing is, what is the repertoire that I already know? What are all the songs that I already have learned? Because it is a lot of material and we don't have to start from scratch. We can make it a lot easier on ourselves if we include songs that we already know. The other thing you can think about are, what are genres or topics that matter to me? So I know you're doing your show for Women's History Month,
mm,
right? Like that is a great tie in. I love doing holidays. So I do Christmas concerts. I've done a Halloween autumn themed show. I've done a spring recital at one point. You can look at the seasons and the holidays. You can think of, I've always wanted to do like a Disney show or an animated show, right? Like, what are groupings of songs, issues, topics that you love? And then
mm.
also, you have to remember that this isn't a one and done. You can always do another show. So it's not the be all end all that I have to pick the most perfect theme and concept for this show. Pick something that you would like to do, go with it, and then keep a list of everything else you would like to do. And you can do that next time.
That's right. This could be the start of something like your own franchise even, That's kind of I know personally that's kind of how I'm thinking about it too, like a series, like a concert series of your own. And I may say that out loud, and I hope if you're listening that sparks a lot of excitement for you. Maybe a little like, ooh, makes if it makes you tremble a little bit, I think that's a good sign, right? Because this is launching you just into another season of your singing and performance aspect. And having been through the process, and I have grown so much. Talk about like building your resiliency as an artist when you're, in charge of it, when you're designing it and doing all the things. Real quick, I had one more question, but real quick, I'm curious. What is one of the most unique concert concepts for like in a cabaret series that either you've been a part of, you've created, gone to? I'm curious.
Ooh, one, I don't know that it's that unique, but it was
Hmm.
special to me. I have a show, now I call it Broadway by the Book, but it was originally called A Trip to the Library. And we actually did it in a bookstore. We did it in the Strand Bookstore's Rare Book Room in New York. It was the first ever
Wow.
musical performance in that space. So that was just really cool to have the backdrop of all of these old leather bound books. I'm thinking of a show that my friend had, and it was a villain show. It was all like Disney villains and things. That was a whole lot of fun.
Yes. I'm like, oh my goodness, the wheels are turning. I love it. Love it. Okay. So I think probably the next hurdle I can imagine is thinking of, ooh, do I need to do this all on my own? So for the person who's gonna like, as soon as this is done, right? As soon as they finish listening to this, they're taking notes right now, they're gonna go do the next thing. In terms of collaborative ideas, If I need help, I've never done this before. Who is your go-to person? Who would you recommend partnering with and why?
Well, first, I'm going to toot my own horn and say, come join Create Your Cabaret because I can
Right.
help walk you through it all. But as far as collaborators for your show, if you're going to use live music, then I highly recommend starting with a music director because they can help you with your arrangements, with your set list, with your instrumentation. That can be a really valuable resource. The other thing, though, is that you don't have to do it alone. So you can do a group cabaret. I did a Christmas concert once and there were six of us, and we all sang a couple of songs and we did a group number or two. And that really made it so much more manageable. And it was a great way to dip our toes into the world of creating a cabaret. And you can also bring on guests. So maybe you want to do some duets or trios, and that's a great way to get people involved as well.
That's awesome because I know in my instance, I was gonna have a co-director and then I had to just pivot because they had some obligations. And so I did end up wearing the music director hat. But I know in my case, I got so lucky with two women who I thought were just going to help me out with supporting vocals. Turns out they were also talented instrumentalists and they were beautiful musical theater performers too. So in my show, I had a whole musical theater montage for Latinas in Broadway. So guess who I got to really feature, right? We did a whole In the Heights medley, totally featured their gorgeous voices. Their instrumental support helped me on a salsa number that's really popular by Gloria Estefan. I had a flautist and also a trumpeter. So I love that idea because with another brain, they might help you think of something that maybe you didn't think of, or you might be too overwhelmed to think of, right? Because there's a lot of planning that's going on and involved, right? Oh my gosh, this is so good. The good news for our listeners is that Gina's also gonna offer her expertise inside of our Passionate Performer program as well. She's gonna do a bonus training for us in April, and all that information is in the show notes. I'm gonna link her course as well in there. Like I said, I can totally vouch for how helpful this resource was, especially in this process, and has given me so many tools to go do the next thing. I'm already thinking of the next thing. So I have my TBS list as well, and I cannot wait to play some more. So yeah, just kind of recapping, like you are capable. You are so capable of not just doing your own show, but the beauty of this is really adding your own special touch because it's you. It's you. And, all those dreams of you singing in your room in front of the mirror, you kind of get to manifest that, right? And see that come to life. So, yeah, go join Gina's course. Join us for the bonus training. Go book your venue and start. I would say, too, Gina, and feel free to add on this, start talking about it. Start talking about the fact that you want to do this. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And remember that people want to hear you. Your voice matters and people want to hear it. And sometimes, we get into this because it's fun for us and we want to sing, but we have to remember that we can really impact people in a positive way when we share our voice. And our voice is meant to be given, it's meant to be used, it's a service, and it can be really, really helpful for people and really enjoyable. And it's easy to get in our own heads and get insecure about the way we sound or, who likes us, who wants to hear us. But I guarantee you that there are people who would love nothing more than to come to your show and to hear your beautiful voice.
Ooh, girl. And that's a perfect way to wrap up. I mean, I hope you walk away feeling so energized, ready to go do something now. Take some messy action. It's okay. Thank you, Gina. Go check out all the information and also just Break a leg. You got this. And you are going to have a fabulous show. Gina, so where can we find the course? I know I'm going to link it in the show notes, but do you have a website, socials? Where are you at?
I am at ginamorgano.com, and my Instagram and my Facebook is at Gina Morgano. And from there, you can find the info for Create Your Cabaret, or feel free to reach out, DM me, email me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a joy.
Wasn't that so good? Okay, I hope you took notes. If not, go back and write down some things because there are so many things that you can do right this very second. First things first, join the Passionate Performer program so you can get in on this bonus training with Gina, where we're going to dive into more specifics about how you can get started in your cabaret creation and then see it through by joining Gina's course. I'm going to share with you some of the things that definitely helped me in the creation of my Sugar and Sazon cabaret. So the idea of this cabaret came to me really inspired by a song that I wrote. Okay. I wrote a song basically about the nuances of being a Latina and being someone who does not look like the stereotype that a lot of people have of Latinos in their heads. So it's really just a little tongue-in-cheek story of all the things that make me me. And there was a line in the song that said, I'm a little bit of sugar and sazon. Sazon just means spice, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, that is the title of this cabaret that I wanted to do, because I wanted to do something that paid homage to some of the biggest female artists in Latin music that have influenced my life. And I wanted to use that as a vehicle to share my story, my upbringing, why I am the way that I am, how, I got into professional singing, and how marriage and motherhood and all sorts of things have influenced who I am today. And I did this on my 45th birthday, which was a huge risk in and of itself. But let me backtrack and tell you some of the logistical things that took place in order for this to happen. So just like Gina just told us and encouraged us, you set a date, you get something on the calendar because that holds you accountable. The original idea when I planned for this back in January of 2024 was to debut this during Hispanic Heritage Month. Here in the United States, we celebrate that between mid-September to mid-October. It was perfect, right? Celebration of Hispanic women and music. And so I had a date set originally for October. I also had a venue in mind where I have hosted a studio showcase before for my private clients, but I wanted to keep my options open just to see if there was a better fit. So I joined Gina's course, got started with the brainstorm process. A few months later, I am presented with this beautiful show opportunity that actually takes me out of town at the end of the summer. By then, I had already hired a music director. I'd already asked another friend of mine to provide background vocals. And I thought, ooh, this is going to be tight for me to go do this and come back, but we might still be able to make it work. Turns out that the timing of when I was done with that contract was right up against the start of school. And we still thought this is manageable because we were finalizing our set list and all the things. It so happens that my extremely talented music director is also head of a dance department at a local prominent school of the arts. I said, hey, what do you think of pushing it back to March? At first, everybody was like, I'm pretty doggone sure that's going to work. Until my music director got her school calendar with all of their performances, things got rearranged, and unfortunately, she was not able to join me for the project. That was a huge pivot because I knew that I did not want to sit at a piano and sing and accompany myself, which is what I normally do at my regular restaurant style gigs. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I wanted to do because I knew I wanted to get up. I knew I wanted to dance. I knew I wanted to move to interpret what I wanted to interpret. So I thought, okay, we've got a huge pivot here. Let me get creative. And thankfully, I have 15, almost 20 years of experience of producing in some form or fashion a musical program, whether it was as a volunteer in church, being part of school systems, or for my own private voice studio. It's just that this was the first time people were going to pay money pay a ticket to come see me. Which is like, I just finished listening to a podcast with Amy Poehler where she and Tina Fey are on tour right now. And even she was saying how vulnerable that is to know people made plans. They got a babysitter, they made dinner plans to come see you. That's huge. And it's also an honor in terms of you want to present something, of course, with excellence, but something that feels true and honest to you. So, logistically, what I did is I did a combination of live music where I was playing at the piano, maybe even with a rhythm track or to an accompaniment track. And then we did use full-on accompaniment tracks. Some of those I did purchase. They were already arranged. Some of them I produced myself from scratch, okay? In fact, I know that I want to encore this show, and I'm probably going to take some time to continue the production side of really cleaning up those tracks some more. So I was like, okay, I've got one of my background singers, gorgeous soprano voice. I knew that I wanted to fill out my ensemble a bit. So I found a beautiful alto who happens to also be Latina, and I knew that she was going to be the perfect fit. These ladies came together. We started our vocal rehearsals. In our brainstorming process for some of these musical arrangements, turns out that I not only hired background vocalists, but they were both instrumentalists. So I had a trumpet player and a flute player who were able to add their own sazon, their own spice to one of our featured songs, which is a Gloria Estefan salsa number. It was just such a beautiful touch because, again, having people collaborate with you where you're not the only one carrying the energy for the entire show, it was such a beautiful exchange, right? Of music, of energy, of vocal load. We were all part of telling this story together. Now, I will say that from a ticket sales perspective, having to also be the one doing all the marketing for the show, that was probably the most taxing part for me, was keeping up with ticket sales, getting creative with promotions, having to check numbers, having to constantly post, and even send DMs to local friends who had expressed interest and, hey, have you gotten your ticket yet? From a financial perspective, I haven't crunched all the numbers, but I definitely did not make a profit, but that's okay. I already knew going into this, that was not the end game. Had it taken place, wow, bonus, amazing. But I knew that this first project that I did for myself was really a gift to myself. It was a gift to establish my artistic career here locally where I live and really solidify it a little bit more and get the word out that, oh, there's this chick she's a bilingual artist and doesn't just do restaurants. She does this. And so it was such a gift of a show for me to not only say, hey, I did it, but I jokingly tell people, like, if this was a video game, I've unlocked another portal. Like, for me in my artistry and my creativity, I feel like I've gone deeper. I've also gotten a little bit more clear, like specific with the type of artist that I am and how to market myself. Because the plan is to encore this, hopefully, in the fall for Hispanic Heritage Month. Now that I've done it once, I know what I want to retool and tweak. And so I'm going to be sharing that with you too along this journey of how I'm doing that. I will say, from a vocal health perspective, giving you the behind the scenes, here in coastal Virginia, things are blooming and it's green and it's lush and it's beautiful. It also is wreaking havoc on my allergies, and it decided to do that the night before the cabaret. So I had to make a choice. I'm like, do I deal with the phlegm and risk sounding a little gravelly for some of the moments that I've worked so hard on? Or do I go ahead and take an antihistamine in order to clear up the phlegm, but then I risk just over dryness in the mouth, in the nasal passages, because that's what it's trying to do, right? It's trying to clear up all that gunk. I was like, let me take an antihistamine. I took one the night before, like a 24-hour pill. I was like, okay, I know I've got to boost my hydration. I know I probably need to steam and nebulize. I did everything by the book. I was a good voice student. But when the time came to open my mouth and sing the first note, Could have been also the room that we were performing in. I could not guzzle enough water. Not necessarily because I was thirsty, but because my mouth felt like cotton, to the point of, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to actually enunciate these next set of lyrics in the next song, or even speak to my audience if I don't take a swig of water, if I don't wet my whistle. And so I actually drank a lot more water than anticipated throughout the performance, to the point that my husband was thinking, do I need to go give her a refill? I made it. And I want to just say this. Even with that vocal challenge, all right, I delivered a solid performance. I felt proud of my vocals. I knew what adjustments I had to make. I had to shorten some of my phrasing. Not everything was super long and legato like I'd rehearsed, but I nailed the notes that I wanted to nail. I communicated what I wanted to communicate. And that is a testament to the training and the work and the hours that I put in. If you are someone who decides to work with a voice coach or take a course or something in preparation for an event, I think that's awesome. But I will say that if you are using voice lessons, use them as maintenance. Use them as a container for you to experiment with sound and explore repertoire and craft your set list, because even though you may not have a gig on the calendar, when that time comes, when you see that audition notice, when somebody calls you and says, we're looking for, you are going to be the one that they call upon. You're going to be ready because you have made a continuous, steady investment in your vocal training and preparation. That is what sets you apart. That is what makes you a passionate and professional vocalist. Yeah. So I just want to continue to encourage you to keep on going. Don't stop, because that will open doors for you that you have no idea how beautiful and how just made for you they are. And this is exactly what this concert, what this cabaret was for me. If you follow me on the socials, I'll be posting more pictures and videos as I get them of the evening. You know where to find all the juicy stuff. Show notes are below. Feel free to reach out on DMs. And I am just wishing you a fabulous first cabaret.